Hey guys, welcome to Tianshi Recaps. I'm your Tianshi, and today we're diving into a mind-blowing mystery thriller called Following. This one's packed with suspense, shocking twists, and a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Imagine a man who walks into your home, not to rob or harm, but simply to observe. A man who steps into the private spaces of strangers, leaving no trace except for a stolen moment. That man is Zhang Tae, the protagonist of this unsettling mystery thriller, a real estate agent by profession but a silent intruder by obsession. By day he sells houses, posts about his achievements on social media, and basks in the flood of positive comments. In a world where online validation holds more value than money, he enjoys the praise. One evening after work, as he is about to leave, he notices a couple stepping out of their house. It is a property listed under his agency, and he has the spare key. Temptation takes over. The moment they disappear down the street, he walks up to the door and lets himself in. Moving carefully through the rooms, he absorbs every detail, taking in the atmosphere of a life that is not his. Then he spots a letter left on a table. He takes a photo and leaves, making sure everything is exactly as it was. He returns to his secret warehouse, a place filled with countless photographs of stolen moments from other people's homes. Each picture is a reminder of the places he has been, a private collection of memories that no one else knows about. Zhang Tae's life moves along smoothly, indulging in his secret obsession while maintaining his perfect image as a real estate agent. But everything changes when he crosses paths with Han So-rae. It happens unexpectedly. Sitting at a cafe, Zhang Tae watches as Han casually eats a simple hot dog, but on social media, she posts it as a healthy salad. The contradiction fascinates him. What else about her is different from what she shows online? His curiosity turns into an obsession. He tracks down her apartment, lingers outside, and finds a few letters in her mailbox. From those he gathers basic details and starts digging deeper through social media. What he finds surprises him. Han So-rae is not just another woman, but a famous influencer admired and praised in every comment section. People adore her kindness, her generosity, and the way she presents her life. But Zhang Tae wants to know if she truly deserves all this. Admiration. He starts following her, watching closely as she feeds street cats, takes a dog for a walk, and performs small acts of kindness that match her online persona. Everything seems perfect, yet something inside Zhang Tae pushes him to see beyond what she allows the world to witness. He does not want just glimpses. He wants to know her fully, completely. But there is a problem. He cannot enter her home. For the first time in his secret life, a door remains closed to him. Days turn into weeks, then months. A total of 112 days pass, but he still cannot break in. He tries everything to crack the passcode, but nothing works. His obsession grows so overwhelming that he starts losing focus on work. Han So-rae is all he thinks about. Then, just when he is on the verge of losing control, fate delivers what feels like a miracle. Han So-rae herself walks into his office, looking to sell her house. For Zhang Tae, it feels like destiny. The door that stayed shut for so long is about to open. When Han So-rae is not home, Zhang finally steps inside. Everything is immaculate, just as an influencer's house should be. Every object seems carefully placed for aesthetic perfection, yet Zhang's another habit kicks in. Whenever he enters a house, he feels the need to fix something. This time, he cleans out the sink, removing a few stray hairs, then snaps a photo of a cream tube for his growing collection. Over time, his fascination with Han deepens. He follows her closely on social media, watching every update. One day, he decides to make one final visit. This time, he plans to fix light in her house before letting go of this obsession. With no second thoughts, he enters, expecting everything to be as perfect as before. But the moment he steps inside, his world shatters. Han So-rae lies on the sofa, brutally stabbed, her lifeless body drenched in blood. Shock paralyzes him, and panic sets in. He cannot call the police. If they discover he broke into her house, he'll be the prime suspect. Desperate for a way out, he comes up with a plan. He contacts a client pretending to show the house, as if nothing happened. Acting clueless, he steps inside with the client, but what he sees next terrifies him even more. Han's body is gone. The house is spotless, not a single drop of blood remains. Zhang spends the night haunted by what he saw. The next day at work, an envelope waits for him. Inside, he finds chilling evidence: photos of Han's dead body, a single hair near the scene, and a picture of himself entering the house. His breath catches as someone knows. Before he can process it, his phone rings. The call is from the Ash's bank where his mother's remains are stored. Someone broke into the locker and tore up her photos. A cold dread creeps over him. While fixing his mother's damaged photo, a van comes speeding toward him. Jong escaped, but someone is trying to erase him. Who?
And why?
Jong, now fearing for his life, decides to report the police. They review CCTV footage, searching for suspects. At the same time, a young woman named Jackie arrives at the station to report her missing friend Han Soare. A female officer, Shim Dalgi, sends her team to gather information, and it becomes clear that no one has seen Han for 3 days. With no time to waste, she begins her investigation, starting with Jong. He recounts how he entered the house with a client and found nothing unusual. Shim takes Han's key and begins a search of the apartment. Jong, desperate to know what the police are finding, secretly watches from a distance. Then his worst fear comes true. Shim discovers a tiny drop of blood under the sofa. The forensic team arrives immediately, marking the start of an intense investigation. Realizing that someone is trying to frame him, Jong knows he has to find the real killer before the police do. His search begins with Han's last uploaded video. Unlike her usual cheerful self, she appears sad, speaking about the toll of negative comments. One comment in particular stands out. Digging deeper, he checks the profile of the person behind it. What he finds unsettles him. The girl has copied Han's life entirely: her style, food, pictures, and even brand partnerships. Every detail is identical, and that girl is none other than Jackie, the same person who reported Han missing. Jong doesn't know that she is the one who complained about Han missing, and now has his first real suspect. Jong tracks Jackie's address through her photos and sneaks into her house while she's away. Inside, he is met with a chilling discovery. The same red envelope that once held Han's murder photos is there. His stomach tightens as he finds more unsettling papers filled with comments from a mysterious profile named Be With You. Digging deeper, Jong investigates the account and finds Lee, a stalker who had been shadowing Han's every move, copying her pictures and desperately trying to interact with her. The pieces start falling into place. Jackie, seeing Han as a rival, and Lee, obsessed with Han, both could have worked together to kill Han. With this chilling realization, Jong rushes home, but as he steps inside, 2 helmeted figures lunge at him. A brutal fight ensues, and in the struggle, Jong manages to rip off one of their helmets. He freezes when he sees Lee's face. Now certain that Jackie and Lee are responsible for Han's murder, Jong fights for his life and barely escapes. He rushes to Shim, revealing everything he knows. Shim agrees to check his apartment for further evidence. But nothing could prepare them for what they find next. Inside Jong's home, Lee is hanging dead. Another red envelope sits ominously nearby. He moves to grab it, but Shim gets it first. What she sees makes her expression darken. The first photo shows Jong and Lee arms around each other like old friends. Shocked, Jong protests, claiming it is fake. But then more images follow, showing him entering Han's house multiple times. The evidence is damning. Shim's gaze sharpens with suspicion. As she moves to arrest him, panic surges through Jong. He knows he is being framed. With no time to think, he shoves Shim aside and bolts out the door. As the hunt for Jong intensifies, Detective Shim receives new information from her assistant. The shocking revelation turns the case upside down. Lee was never stalking Han. He was obsessed with Jackie, not Han. Meanwhile, Jackie fuels the fire by starting a live stream publicly accusing Jong of being Han's murderer. Elsewhere, Jong, exhausted and on the run, breaks down in frustration. Everything is spiraling out of control. Determined to find answers, he tracks down Lee's house and sneaks inside. The place is a chaotic mess, but one detail catches his attention: a crumpled piece of paper with a handwritten number. It's the locker number of his mother's ashes. Rushing to the ash bank, Jong demands to see the container, but once alone, he steals it and pries it open. Inside, he finds something horrifying: a bloodstained knife hidden within the urn, along with another red envelope. The message inside chills him to the bone. "You are going to be caught soon." Someone is not just framing him, they're playing a twisted game, pushing him deeper into a trap he cannot escape. Furious, Jong tracks down Jackie. He finds her still live streaming, continuing her accusations against him. He bursts into her home and corners her. Fear flashes in her eyes as he demands the truth. Trembling, Jackie confesses that she didn't kill Han. She only manipulated Lee, turning his obsession from her toward Han to keep him away from her. That was all. Meanwhile, at the police station, a woman approaches Detective Shim. She introduces herself as Han's sister and reveals a side of Han no one knew. Han was not an innocent influencer. For money, she abandoned her own family and cut all ties. As proof, Han's sister hands Shim a stack of legal documents, debentures. Jackie reveals a shocking truth that she and Han were never rivals, but partners in deception. To gain public sympathy, Jackie deliberately left hate comments on Han's posts, making herself the villain so that people would support Han even more. The strategy worked. Han became famous, and they split the money, Han taking 80% and Jackie 20%. Zhang, still unconvinced, presses for more answers. He demands to know the significance of the red envelopes. Jackie claims they contained her share of the money regularly sent by Han as part of their deal. But something doesn't add up. Piecing together the events, Zhang recalls something crucial. When he first searched Han's house, he took a photo of a cream. The distinct scent from that cream was familiar. It was the same scent he noticed on one of the helmeted attackers who ambushed him at his house. Han's real face is finally revealed. She grew up in a struggling lower middle-class family. She grew up devoid of love. With no sense of attachment and desperate for money, she did the unthinkable. She sold her handicapped brother. Her family disgusted threw her out. Han walked away without remorse, believing emotions made people weak. Life outside was brutal. She barely survived until one day, she posted a random selfie on social media. The next day, she saw a comment that changed everything. In the background of her photo, there was a blood donation board. Mistakenly assuming she was involved in charity, people praised her. Han laughed at their gullibility and saw an opportunity. From that moment, she crafted a new identity. She became a social worker, staging acts of kindness, uploading them online, and watching donations pour in. The more she pretended to help, the more people followed. But she needed contrast to fuel her fame. Every hero needs a villain. That's when she met Jackie in a pub and convinced her to post hate comments. The strategy worked flawlessly until Zhang started following her. One day, while filming content, Han deliberately broke a cat's leg to create a fake rescue video. As she focused on the recording, her eyes caught someone watching her. It was Zhang. Han's carefully built life was on the verge of collapse. One afternoon, while taking a photo with an expensive handbag that was not hers, she saw Zhang watching her from outside. Panic set in as she realized he might already know what she was doing to deceive people. If he exposed her, everything she had created would be gone forever. Her fame, her money, her reputation, all of it would disappear. The thought of going back to the miserable life she once had was unbearable. She knew she had to eliminate Zhang, but if she killed him outright, she would be caught. Instead, she devised the perfect plan. From the beginning, Zhang had been following Han, but what he never realized was that Han had been following him even more closely. She observed his every move, learning his strange habits and tendencies. That was exactly what she needed to use against him. To execute her plan, she needed Lee. Han carefully manipulated him, speaking to his desires and making him feel special. Lee was already obsessed enough to do anything Han asked. When the time was right, Han staged her own murder. She led Zhang into believing that he had walked into a crime scene by offering him to sell her house, then faking her own death. The moment Zhang saw the scene and ran away in fear, Han cleaned up all traces of blood, leaving only a single drop hidden under the sofa, just enough for the police to find. But that was not enough. She needed more evidence to trap him completely. She carefully placed her own blood on Zhang's shoe, ensuring forensic proof that he had been at the crime scene. Then she discovered Zhang's warehouse and found an old knife. With precision, she dipped it in her own blood before handing it over to Lee, instructing him to hide it inside Zhang's mother's ash container. Han had orchestrated her own death, but if she were truly dead, how could she still be outside moving freely? That was the proof of her deception, revealing the depths of her criminal mind. Using Lee as a pawn, Han manipulated reality once again. She photoshopped images of Lee and Zhang together, making it appear as if they were partners in crime who had conspired to kill her. She twisted the narrative further, crafting a story that in a heated fight between them, Zhang had killed Li. She lured Li to Zhang's house. During the earlier fight, when Zhang unmasked one of his attackers, he saw Li. But what he didn't know was that Han was controlling everything from the shadows. After Zhang managed to escape, she murdered Li herself and hanged him in Zhang's home. Shim had lingering doubts about Han, so she confronted Jackie, who finally spilled the truth. Meanwhile, Zhang was being hunted by police from all sides, forcing him to take refuge in his warehouse. But he wasn't alone. Han was already there, chained, setting up the perfect scene to frame him for Li's murder and her own kidnapping. Before Zhang could react, Han took things further. She grabbed a knife, slashing herself even more and lunging at him. Frustrated and cornered, Zhang fought back. That was the moment Han had been waiting for. The police stormed in. Han had called them herself, with her injuries and the chains as proof anything Zhang said would be meaningless. He had no choice but to run. Shim now understood Han's true nature, but without evidence, there was nothing she could do. At the same time, Han went live, playing the innocent victim, telling the world about the torture she endured. The comments flooded in with sympathy and support, solidifying her image once again. Zhang, desperate and out of options, wrote a letter to Shim. He confessed to his strange habit, insisting he never hurt anyone but admitted it was wrong. He promised to surrender, but pleaded to meet her first. Before leaving, he burned all the photos he had collected throughout his life, while Zhang is saying to Shim that he is a proof against Han. In a flashback, Han had just been discharged from the hospital. Shim personally escorted her home for safety. As soon as they arrived, Han noticed something waiting for her. A red envelope. Inside was a drawing of her lying dead on a sofa, with a message from Zhang. "If you want this photo, come meet me." Han had used this photo only to scare Zhang. If that picture got out, people would start questioning her. The moment Shim left Han secretly, went to meet Zhang. Zhang had a hidden camera, but Han was always one step ahead. She found it, played the innocent victim, then smashed it without hesitation. Standing over him, she sneered, telling him there was no escape and that the only thing left for him was to hang himself. Her arrogance was suffocating, and Zhang, utterly helpless, broke down. But then through his tears, he asked a simple question. What did she really do with all the rescued dogs and cats she paraded on social media? The shift in Han's expression was instant. The confidence drained from her face, replaced by a flicker of panic. She had fooled millions with her staged rescues, gaining sympathy and donations, but the truth was far more sinister. She took those animals home, poisoned their food, and killed them all. If that secret came out, everything she had built would collapse. Zhang, realizing he had hit a nerve, started to laugh. The flashback ended, and he revealed the truth to Shim. Han was not just an animal killer. She had murdered a girl. Back when she worked at a pub, she had just begun building her fake social media empire. A fellow worker had noticed her lies and demanded $2 million to keep quiet. But Han never intended to pay. Instead, she silenced the girl permanently, killed her, and buried her in the same place where she had disposed of all the poisoned animals. The police excavated the burial site, uncovering countless animal corpses, and beneath them the body of the murdered girl. Han's carefully crafted web of lies collapsed in an instant. Panic took over as she realized there was no way out. In a fit of desperation, she attacked Zhang, clawing and screaming in rage. Zhang remained still, watching her lose control. He told her that he had not called her here to record anything but to hand her over to the police. At that moment, Shim and her team entered, surrounding Han before she could escape. She struggled, but there was no use. Her crimes had finally caught up to her. Zhang was also taken in, guilty of trespassing and secretly observing others' lives. His punishment was 6 months in prison. Han, however, was sentenced to life, her fate sealed by the murder and cruelty she had tried so hard to conceal. The possibility of a death sentence loomed over her. After 6 months, Zhang was released. As he walked through the bustling streets, he felt the familiar urge to peek at strangers' phones, to step into their private lives as he had always done. But he stopped himself. That habit had ruined him, pulling him into a nightmare. With determination, he walked past the crowd, ignoring the temptation. The screen fades to black as Zhang walks forward, leaving his past behind. This is what happens when we step into lives that are not ours to interfere with. Sometimes curiosity leads to destruction. It is always better to mind our own life rather than getting entangled in someone. Hope you enjoyed the movie. See you in the next video.
Bye.